Liverpool played an essential role in the transatlantic slave trade, with much of the city's 18th century wealth built on the profits from the transportation of slaves. Liverpool was late to enter the slave trade, but quickly surpassed London and Bristol to become Europe's #1 slave port by the 1740s. It's thought that over 40,000 African slaves were transported by Liverpool vessels. By 1792, Liverpool was firmly established as a leading slave port, with 131 sailings in that year compared to 42 from Bristol and 22 from London. Liverpool's prosperity was bound up in the triangular slave trade. In Liverpool, ships were loaded with cottons and woolens, guns, iron, alcohol and tobacco, and the ships sailed to Africa where they traded the goods for slaves, ivory and gold. The middle passage of the journey then took them to America or the West Indies, where the slaves would be sold for money, colonial produce, or bills of exchange. Though Liverpool was essential to the slave trade was not essential to Liverpool. Even at its height, it's estimated that 10 to 30% of outbound shipping was heading for Africa. There were 5 main ways that Liverpool made money from slavery: the building and repair of slave ships, slave trading, slave-produced goods such as cotton, sugar, the production of exportable goods such as pottery, and insuring and financing everything, so getting money from banks, for example. Contrary to popular belief, few slaving voyages made a huge profit. An average voyage would produce a profit of 8%. Sometimes, though, large profits could be made. In 1780, Matthew Street trader William Davenport sent his ship Hawke to Africa at the cost of £5,000, and the voyage made a profit of £10,000. The slave trade was the backbone of Liverpool. Liverpool's Rodney Street was built between 1782 and 1801. In townhouses for many elite merchants, including William Gladstone, who became the father of the late Prime Minister. It was named after Admiral Rodney, who defeated the French at St. Lucia in 1782 to preserve the British influence in the West Indies. Rodney supported the slave trade. Elsewhere in the city, the Port of Liverpool building displayed stone carvings of slave ships and dolphins on its facade, and the Cunard building carries sculptures of Native American and an African man and woman. The Liverpool Street, also known as Penny Lane, takes its name from slave trader James Penny, who was vocal in his opposition to the abolition movement. He was really eager to protect his business, and he boldly claimed that the slaves here will sleep better than the gentlemen do on shore. He was not the only Liverpool figure to campaign. In the build-up to 1788 and starting to abolish slavery, Liverpool slave traders submitted 64 petitions arguing against abolition. One way that Liverpool has decided to preserve and acknowledge their role is by building the International Slavery Museum, and this opened in 2007. The museum's displays address the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade and issues such as freedom, human rights, racial discrimination, and cultural change. The museum also looks at the lasting impact of slavery and the slave trade on Africa, South America, and the USA, as well as the Caribbean and Western Europe.